So we're going to learn about the Regional Autism Network today, or RAN. This presentation is going to provide an in-depth overview of the Regional Autism Network in Alabama. This is a statewide initiative that is committed to enhancing the lives of individuals with autism spectrum disorder and their families. And Maria is a family navigator for Regional Autism Network, specializing in special education, rehabilitation, and counseling. So thank you so much, Maria, for taking the time out of your schedule to talk with us today. I'm excited to learn all that is to learn or is to know about RAN. Oh, here we go, more people popping in. And if you have questions for Maria during the presentation, you can either enter them into the chat or just save them till after the information is presented, and she'll address those as they come. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And there we go. There's your presentation, Maria, and you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, thank you, Jenny, and happy Friday to everyone that is here. Thank you for taking time of your busy Friday. I hope that everybody has plans for the weekend, but I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you information about the Regional Autism Network. I am the family navigator for the Regional Network number 4, and I am a parent of a young adult on the spectrum. So I'm always happy to share information about what resources we have in Alabama and how can we serve our families better. So if you are a parent, thank you for being here. And if you are a professional, please make sure that you share our information with the families that you're serving. Thank you, Jenny. Next. So what are the history of the RANs? Okay, well, let me give you a little bit of a history about myself. I am not from Alabama. I'm originally from California. My son was diagnosed very late, and in California, we have an entity that is called the regional centers that provide testing, evaluations, referrals for services for individuals with disabilities, including autism. So 13 years ago, we decided to move to Alabama, and we established in Alabama, and I was looking for resources that my son could receive through the agencies established across the state. I got to find out that services for autism were not at that time available in Alabama. And so the RANs, they were established by the legislation in 2016. However, it was not until 2017 when they were partially funded. And the first one was the one in Auburn, that is where we are here. The second was UAB, and then South Mobile. Later on became Tuscaloosa, and the last one to be funded was Huntsville. So the leading agency that oversees the RANs is ADMH. I always tell parents that think about ADMH like a big umbrella, and there are two little umbrellas, one to address mental health, and then another one that addresses autism services. And all these services are under the direction of the Alabama Interagency Coordinated Council. They meet quarterly in Montgomery. This is mandated by the federal. Every state has one, and is to provide information and feedback to the state in order to let them know what services they need to be added, what should we advocating as a state, and to ask for more funding. Next one. So this is one of our flyers. This was our initial flyer. And I know it's very little. You cannot really see very well, but don't worry. I will be sending this presentation to Jenny. Jenny will be sharing it with all of you. But when the RANs were established, the state of Alabama got divided into 5 regions. So AU RAN, or Auburn University RAN, is the Brown region. So we are region number 4. We actually are the largest of the regions across the state, and we cover 20 counties. Also, each region has a constituency board that is made of parents and also self-advocates. And the board members help us to keep our mission, and they bring up concerns about certain areas, certain counties, and we try to serve those areas the best that we can with the resources that we have in Alabama currently. The boards, they meet quarterly, and what do? We provide reports to the Alabama Interagency Autism Coordinated Council quarterly. So every RAN across the state compiles a report for the last 3 months, and those reports get sent to the state for them to see what are the needs of that community, what are the needs the parents are saying, what is what we need to have more, which if you are a parent, we know that we need more providers, we need more resources across the state. Next one. So, but what is what the runs do? Okay. First of all, I believe the family navigators play a crucial way in the families. They are instrumental on trying to bridge the gap between the families and the systems that we have across Alabama, right? Whether it is to provide medical information, referrals. Okay, if parents have questions regarding like, where do I take my child that needs to have a dental appointment, but I don't know which dentist within my community is the one that it will be more understanding for kids on the spectrum. So we try to be that gap to help parents, right? To connect them with the resources that parents need. So we also try to guide the people that call us, to meet with them one-on-one, whether it is via Zoom, in person, if they live within my county. Sometimes we try to create opportunities to visit other counties so that we could meet those parents within their own region. And, we try to help families to guide them in how to solve issues regarding those are issues that they are having within the school system, that they do not know how to navigate autism services, and also we provide information about best practices and standards that is related to autism. I know that sometimes parents, especially if you are pretty new within the journey of autism, you are looking for information, and some parents try to go and get that information from the websites, from, just through research. But many times, they find out about some kind of treatment that is not evidence-based. And so we're trying to recommend things that have been evidence-based and things that we know that there is research about those treatments that have been found useful for working with individuals with disabilities. We also provide training opportunities and consultation to parents and professionals. This looks more like, for example, the HR might call to us and say, like, we would like for you guys to come and train our staff about autism. Or can you please come and do a presentation about what the runs do for the families? And so this is the way that we try to connect with agencies all across our region. And it gives us a good opportunity to really know the needs of those providers, because sometimes we get referrals from families that, there was an incident that it was related to safety, and then they call the HR on the family. Now the family gets referral to us, and we try to collaborate with the HR for the best benefit of the child and the family unit. We do not want families to be disrupted. We prefer the families stay together. And so we're trying to collaborate with different agencies. And also we try to identify and promote other programs, that are actually helpful for our individuals on the spectrum, also for their caregivers, and as well for educators. Next one. So the family navigators, that's what I do. Like I said, I am a parent of a young man on the spectrum. And so I have lived the journey through our own way, and each child on the spectrum is very different. So understanding what the parents are going through is going to be very different for each family unit, right? We have complex families where the child might have autism, but also has other medical needs, might have mental needs. And we have parents that are single parents, right? We have parents that are trying to do their best they can. But imagine when we get phone calls that the grandparents are raising the grandchild because parents are having trouble, or they lost the custody of the child, or the parents pass away. So every family is very unique. So we need to be, as family navigators, we need to be very mindful about the needs that the family has, and trying to look for those services that they might need and might be helpful for them. Sometimes if I get a phone call within my county and the family says, we only have one vehicle and my spouse is the one that takes it. So I have no way to get to you to the university. So I am willing to go and meet them in their house within that community. Sometimes families tell me, can we meet at the library? So my job is to make their life easier, no more complicated, and try to provide that direct assistance to the family, which is what you need. Sometimes our families, when they call us, they're just calling us and they said, well, I got a diagnosis, but what do I do with it? Right? And so it's that way to asking them questions, trying to figure it out. What is what the professionals recommended? What did the doctor said? What did the psychologist? Or what were the recommendations? And then trying to guide them, whether it is for educational or for services within that community. And also, sometimes families don't even know what they need. We have seen this, when sometimes when you ask the family, is there anything else that you're thinking about, maybe that it might be helpful for your family? And they're like, well, no, I think we're doing okay. And then when you ask the question about well, tell me about safety concerns. And they go oh yeah, I cannot go to Walmart. I mean, unless I put him on the cart and he is tied up because he will run away. So then that's when I provide resources about safety. What is what we have in the state of Alabama and what is available also from across the United States that might be helpful. And some of these resources might be connecting the family with another agency, and I'm always happy to make that connection because, like I said, most of the time our families are dealing with so much stress that just adding one more thing into the plate is going to be a lot. And that's what we don't want. Next one. So what resources could we provide to the families, right? One of the first things that I feel that a family needs to do is they need to be connected with other parents that have children with special needs. If somebody has lived that life, that person is more likely to understand you, might be also the person that is going to guide you with and connect you with other services, right? Now, I'm in Lee County, so I might not be fully aware about what services and what resources they have in Houston County. And so connecting the parents with a network of other parents, I think is the most important thing to do. Now, we need to let them know about what resources do we have in the state of Alabama. We encourage them to participate in educational programs because when they handed us the diagnosis, we have to learn a new language, a new lingo. We need to become experts on special education. We need to know more about autism and how autism affects or is making our child's life more complex. We need to learn, and if our child has comorbidities, ADHD, OCD, ODD, any of those conditions, then we need to start learning about what that means. OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, okay? ADHD, I mean, hyperactivity. So we need to start learning. And the only way to do that is by participating on educational programs. Now, many of the other runs, our colleagues are conducting educational programs. And, after Zoom, I would say the only good thing that we have left was that now we could participate via Zoom and we could join a training in California, in New York, in Arizona. And it's just a matter that connecting the parents with those opportunities for them to participate on our learning opportunities. We work with the parents and we connect them with the agency so that parents could learn how to advocate for the child. Like I said, when we get the diagnosis, we just don't know where to start, right? And depending on your cultural background, it might be even more difficult to learn how to advocate. I come from a Hispanic culture. In my culture, it has been taught and it has been embedded within our culture that we don't question professionals, we don't question the teachers, we don't question doctors, we don't question people that have a higher education than us. So telling the families that it's okay to ask questions, sometimes it's going to take a while for them to feel comfortable that they could really pursue that and not feel that, well, how am I going to be seen? Is this okay for me even to ask right? And also, we try to help parents to self-advocate and try to be proactive in requesting any information within their native language. It is important the families have access to informations, and some of those resources can be easily translated for the families. Now, in Alabama, I could tell you that the two most important second languages is Spanish and Korean. So we need, as professionals, we need to be mindful, and we always need to think about how can we provide this information in other language? How can we provide language access for those families where English is not their primary language? The next one. So through the pandemic, we received, AU-RAN received a grant through ACDD, the Alabama Council on Developmental Disabilities, to do an outreach for Hispanic families. And so we started doing some trainings, and that is that YouTube channel. And I'm gonna send it to Gianni so that she could be sharing it with all of you. But we invited different speakers, and we started recording all of the training sessions. And so that is a good tool to have if you are just learning about autism and you're wondering about where do I start? Well, I always invite families to go and look at the YouTube channel and try to see if one of the presentations might be relevant to your case. Because like I said, each family is in a different journey right now. And so we also try to provide language access for Spanish-speaking families and Korean-speaking families. Across Alabama, each one of the runs have different individuals that are working and that they are able to provide this language access for them. Next one. So you could see right here that we have family liaisons. And this is the most updated version of the flyer, where you could see what we provide, because this is what the legislation said that each individual RAN is going to be providing to the families across Alabama. So it's professional training, technical assistance, direct assistance for the home, community, and the school, and public education. Public education could be, that if we get invited to a resource fair in the city. Here in Auburn, we have National Night Out. And so that's when we usually go, set up a table, bring our flyers, bring information about autism, and so that the community could come and they could ask us, maybe if not for them, maybe for a neighbor, maybe for somebody that they know that live in another county, and they take the flyer and our information, and so that now they could share that. But this is the people that work in the runs. So if you are attending from different parts of the state, then my recommendation is to look for the representatives in your area, in your region, and then send them an email. Now, this is what I tell parents, because I do not know how many of our participants might have children on the spectrum that are attending this session. But what I will tell you is reach out to your run, send them an email and say, like, I am a parent of a young man, a young girl on the spectrum. Please add me to your email listserv so that I could be getting information about events. Because what we're trying to do is collecting information about events that are happening, whether it is within our region, across the state, and then send it to the families, send them to professionals so that they could decide, oh, yeah, there is this training that is going to talk about SSI. Well, I want information about that. So I'm going to ask them if they could add me to their listserv so I could participate on that session. Now, I know that we all have pretty busy life schedules, and sometimes there might be a training that you might not be able to attend in person or via Zoom. And what I recommend to the parents is that register, regardless, register. Then send them an email and say, I will not be able to attend the training, but could you please share that information in the handouts with me for me to review later on. Within Tuscaloosa, we have Tammy and Cynthia. They do not have a Spanish liaison nor a Korean liaison. However, that is not a reason for people that speak another language not to call them. Because one of the things that the runs are doing is they are able to provide language access for any family that call us that doesn't speak English. We just need to secure an interpreter, and then we'll be able to help the family. But Mobile area, they do have Veronica Valero, our Spanish liaison. And here in Auburn, we have Ms. Kim McYoung, which is our Korean liaison. And probably many of you know our people in UAB, Ms. Gwendolyn Brown. She's very well known across the state. She's a very fierce advocate for our families. So she and Angelica are one of the ones that are doing a lot of in-person training within the Birmingham, Jefferson, Shelby area for our families. And then we have on another part, we have Sarah, Linda, and Lauren that are the people that is in charge of the all the way in the Huntsville, Madison, Lime County, which is another part of Alabama. But like I said, language shouldn't be a problem and an issue for our families to get in touch with us because we're able to provide language access. Next one, Jenny. So as you can see, was short and sweet. So I also like to hear the questions that parents might have. So here is our information where you guys could reach us. I'm going to send to Jenny the PowerPoint, our flyers. We have it in English, Spanish, and Korean so that you guys could share with other people. But also I'm going to share a flyer that we're trying to gather some information about childcare. What are the needs that parents are seeing for childcare? What are the needs that you're seeing within your community? So we want to get feedback because with that, we're able to provide that feedback back and create a report and give it to the state. We know that we have a lot of areas and pockets across Alabama where still we don't have enough providers to do testing, to do services. We know and we are pretty much aware of the lack of providers to provide ABA services. However, if we do not bring this with more attention to the legislation, then funding is not going to be provided. We need to secure that providers stay in Alabama and that they do not leave Alabama. So we are asking for the input from the parents. So please take a minute when you get it to fill it out. It's a very simple survey. So, and if you could send it back to us, that will be very helpful. Now, Jenny, would you like me to open it up for questions? Let me see if I could see. Okay.
Yes, sorry, I had to figure out how to unmute myself again. I forgot how to use the computer. So let's check the chat here. Doesn't look like there's any questions in the chat. So if anyone does have any questions for Maria, you can type them in the chat or just feel free to unmute and we'd love to hear from you.
And if not, I will tell you that one of the main calls that we receive from parents is regarding safety. And so because kids on the spectrum, they tend to elope. So one of the things that I tell the families is that we need to be proactive regarding safety. One of my recommendations is try to find the nearest fire station and take your child and meet the firefighters when there is no noise, when we are not on fire. So we want to make sure that our kids meet providers when they are relaxed, when it could be something fun, so that they know that if in case of an emergency, this person is going to come and their role is to help me. And I'm going to say this because we had a family that she said, my son gets so overwhelmed with the sirens, so that if he hears the sirens, he's going to go and hide in a place and he's not going to come out. So picture that in a case of an emergency. So we recommended to this family to go and meet the firefighters, when it was fun. Mom did it. And so the firefighters were so nice to the child. They let him wear, the hat. He got a tour by himself and the family. He went into the truck. And so now this interaction is going to help to create that bond with the family and the child. God forbid something happens, the child knows like, oh, if I hear somebody calling my name, then I know that I need to step out and I don't need to be afraid. That same recommendation goes for interacting with police officers. When we moved here, we were part of well, before we moved here in California, we were part of an initiative that it was to educate police officers regarding autism. So I volunteered our family and we took our son so that police officers will know, how does he look? I mean, what does he do when he's steaming? That he's not in drugs, but this is a self-stimulatory behaviors, right? That it could look very different on every individual. Now, also to let them know that some of our kids might be nonverbal, right? Other kids are very verbal, but they might not make eye contact. So imagine that. We have students that are on the spectrum that they drive. So imagine that scenario when somebody gets stopped and then the police officer is asking questions, but then the student is not making eye contact. How is that going to be perceived? So safety is very important. So one of the things that we did is I went by myself to the nearest police station and I introduced myself. I said, we are the Gutierrez families. We live on this street. I would like to know if it is possible, who are the police officers that come and patrol my area? I have a child with special needs. He loves the train tracks. He loves the water. He is a runner. So I need you to be aware of these needs, right? And so they said, of course, would you like to come again with him so that we could meet him? I said, absolutely. So we did that. And so by that, I provided them an opportunity to talk to my child so that he feel like, oh yeah, these are people that I could trust, right? And the other thing in Alabama, we have some resources like Project Lifesaver, which, parents could actually register their child. If the child tends to elope, they actually put a device. And, if it gets that the child get lost, you call 911, you tell them that your child is registered with Project Lifesaver, and the police will come with their technology and they will try to find it. We need to educate parents that time is vital. Time is of the essence, right? So there are some resources in Alabama that parents could use and utilize. And there are other resources across the nation, like the Red Box. And do not worry about thinking like, I need to write all this down. I'm going to send it to Jenny, and Jenny could share them with all of you. But these are resources that are available for parents to have access. There is an organization at the national level that also provide information about safety. They have compiled a whole book that is all about safety. Actually, parents could request a whole box for parents at no cost to them. So there are resources. And I started with safety because, again, our kiddos tend to run away when they are overwhelmed. They tend to run away when they are frustrated. And where do they go? The train tracks and the water. So we need to make sure that our kids are safe, that we know what to do in those cases. And also, if they run away and they are not registered with Project Lifesaver or under the yellow dot or under any programs, then the first thing that you need to look is into the body of water. That's the first point of that parents should be looking into. So safety, like I said, one of the main concerns that parents have, or sometimes is not even in their radar, right? So we try to address that right away. The other one is, how do I navigate the school system? I do not understand what an IEP is. I don't know. I mean, they're talking about certain things that is just going all over my head. Well, there are other agencies within the state of Alabama, and we're very lucky to have good people that really care for kids and individuals with autism, but also with all kinds of disabilities. So APEC, the Alabama Parent Education Center, is one of the agencies that will help families navigate and understand an IEP. What does it mean? What does related services means? What does all these courses mean? I mean, what do they mean? Although you should be asking those questions when you go to the meeting, right? But they are here to provide training for parents. And if you are a professional that are attending this session and you work with families within your area, let's say Dothan area, and you have a group of parents, you could invite APEC and they will come and do a presentation for you at no cost. We have also times, there are times where families might have some issues with the school system, right? So we have another agency, ADA, the Alabama Disability Advocacy Program, that they also provide resources for the families. And this is not just for the school. I mean, ADA is such a big umbrella that they provide way many resources for families. And on their website, they have so many resources that I usually recommend for families to go and look at them. But again, every family is very unique. We might have a phone call where a family call us and they said, my husband lost his job. We have no money to pay the rent. So my job as a family navigator is to look what resources are available within the community and try to connect the families to those resources. Because once again, our families have so many things trying to juggle on their plate. So the least that we want is parents to be frustrated and, depressed. Believe me, when I was in California and I felt like I had a menu in California, right? Because they were like, here are all the resources that you could have access to it. And then I came to Alabama and it's like, where is that menu? I want to see it. And I still feel that there is a huge gap in this connection between agencies. So it's crucial that us connect those families, the family navigators connect those families with those services. The only thing that I'm very passionate about it is empowerment. Families sometimes, like I said, they feel that they don't have a voice, right? And it's so important to empower families when they are working with a child. I know it is true that sometimes the families are going to feel like, well, he's going for therapy, he goes for speech, he goes and receives OT, so he's making progress. But then I tell the parents, but he goes only once a week for 30 minutes. You have him the rest of the week. So what is what you do? Let's empower you. Let's go and talk to the speech pathologist, talk to the OT, talk to the BCBA and say, what can I do at home? Teach me how to work with my child. What should I be doing while we are waiting to come back again? Believe it or not, that empowerment, that knowledge is going to help you as a caregiver to be a stronger advocate, but also to help your child. Because the goal of therapy is to help the child make progress. But once again, because of the long waiting list, because we don't have enough providers, your child might be only going once a week, right? So what can you do at home? The other recommendation that I made for the parent that I give to parents is that try to replicate whatever is working, whether it is in the school system or within the office where you take your child for therapy. Because we hear this quite often. Well, Mrs. Jones in the school tells me that he is such a good student, that he's doing the homework. However, when he comes home, I cannot make him do not even half of the page, right? And we understand this, but think about that in the school system, the child probably has a routine. They have a very structured day, right? And sometimes in our home, we might not be able to provide that same structure, right? Because you have more, I mean, I don't only have one child. I have 4 children. So, so if all my attention is going to the child on the spectrum, then I might not even paying attention to the other ones. So my house might be very chaotic, right? So we need to make sure that we try to replicate whatever is working for our student and try to replicate it in the household. And uh, we need to try to facilitate services for families across the state, right? The connection with other agencies, whether it is children rehabilitation services, vocational rehabilitation. Sometimes parents that think that they only need to be receiving services in the school system and they do not want to explore anything else outside the school system. I see that there is a huge benefit on exploring and being connected with other agencies, like children rehabilitation services when our children they're still young. So why? Because this entity is going to provide some referrals. They might also be able to provide opportunities for education, but all CRS, Children Rehabilitation Services offices, they are going to have a transition clinic that will help children be transitioning maybe into vocational rehabilitation when they get older. And they have a lot of information. And like I said, sometimes when I bring this up to families, the families are like, I didn't know that I could open up a case with them. And I'm like, oh yes, you can, and those services are free. And sometimes the parents are going to say, but I have Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm like, it does not really matter. You could get case management. So that's a person, that's a social worker. That's a person that now you have on your corner when you go to the IP meeting. So there is a huge benefit in connecting the families with other entities, with other agencies. Now, hear me here. If you are a parent and your child is becoming a teenager, we need to help them be self-advocates, because the goal for us is to help our student to reach their potential. Now, when parents tell me, well, my child is nonverbal, I said, that's not an excuse. There is assistive technology, and any of this child is going to need extra support, there are ways to provide it, right? We need to make sure that our kids are able to tell us what they need and what they want, whatever it comes in any form. If it's not verbal, if they are just making noises, if they show us to us with a smile, they are telling us. They are unique individuals that we need to make sure that they tell us what they need and what they want. We understand that there might be some individuals that they might need some extra support in order to make sure that they tell us what they want. But think about this. I know I had a family that mom was doing everything, right? We mothers, we do everything. But I usually think about the future, and I think about, what is my child going to be able to do when I'm no longer here? So it's my job to do whatever I can within my territory so that he could be as independent as he can be. And we could start with little things, right? Because so many times with the parents, without being, without thinking, we choose their clothing, right? We choose how we fix their hair, we choose their breakfast, and we don't give them any freedom to make those little decisions. And so we could start with our younger children, say like, would you like to wear a red t-shirt, or would you like to pick up the yellow one? Well, my child is nonverbal. My child has an intellectual disability. Put it in front of him. Let him make that decision. You're still controlling which ones you want him to wear, right? But that's how I started helping my child. Now, did I knew how to do all this? Absolutely not. I was picking up all the outfits. I wanted him to look cute. I wanted him to be nicely dressed, his hair nicely combed. But it was through trainings that I participated that I learned that I need to help my child to be as independent as he can be. So parents sometimes need reminders, right? That we need to be giving them certain freedom, still having some control, but giving them some freedom for them. And, hopefully this will be something that will help them in their future. Like I said, in Alabama, we have different entities that parents need to be connected. Now, when they turn to be young adults, we need to connect them with those entities and organizations that provide services for adults with disabilities. And in Alabama, we have two great organizations. We have People First of Alabama, and we have Disability Rights and Resources. So once again, it's connecting them, because now, they could speak up for themselves, right? If your child is, even though if he speaks with one or two words, or he has an assistive technology device, they could speak up. They also need to be connected within their own peers, within their own group of people, right? I feel that when our kiddos find their own tribe, they flourish. They feel more comfortable. And this doesn't mean that they need to have 5, 10 friends, if they could have one. I remember when my child was younger, I used to tell one of the social workers, I said, nobody has ever invited him to a sleepover. Nobody has ever invited him to a birthday party that is not related to the family. You know what I mean, right? So, and I said, and it is because he's different. And so what they say is like, well, what can you do? And I'm like, I don't know. Help me here. And they said, well, what about if you talk to other parents that have children about the same age? And then meet one day at the park. And you said it's going to be only for 20 minutes. And I started doing that. All of a sudden, my son, I get an email from one of the parents that said, oh, my son plays with yours. Would you like us to meet in Burger King and maybe see if they could be a match? And I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? Nothing, right? So we went, and sure enough, they click because they used to talk about Minecraft, everything about Minecraft. And I'm like, okay. Now, were they buddies? No, but they used to, engage, and we started little by little, right? And so for each family, we need to find the strengths of our own children and try to nurture those, right? And try to connect them with other students that they have same affinities. So, is this much? I don't know.
No, there are actually a few questions. One is segues great into what you're already talking about. Vanessa wants to know if the program offers resources for older kids for social communication or gathering 17 years old and older.
Okay, well, so if individuals have a diagnosis of autism and they also have Medicaid, then there is a few resources that the family and the individual could actually access. Now, for this, the family needs to be referral to ADMH in order to get those resources. There is an application and there is a process to do this. So, and I don't know and I'm gonna send Jenny this flyer, but it looks something like this. I don't know how many have you seen this flyer, but we have it in English and Spanish. And this is for individuals that have Medicaid and that they actually have a diagnosis of autism. And one of the services is psychoeducational and peer support. So that is the support that you're looking for, right? And so those services get paid under Medicaid. Now, depending where you are across the state, that's going to be the challenging part about trying to find those resources. However, the family needs to be referred to this agency. The child needs to be enrolled first. And here is what we want to share with the families. These services expire when the child turns 20. So that is what is so critical to get the families connected with these resources. And now I could make the referral. Jenny could make the referral, you could actually self-referral. So if this is for any of the people attending here, this is the case, and you have not heard about autism services under ADMH, Alabama Department of Mental Health, then please make sure that you get in touch with me, or I'll be sending the flyer to Jenny, and I'll be sending it in English and Spanish so that you could email. There's an email on the bottom. Send them an email and said, I am the parent of Johnny Lopez. He has a diagnosis of autism by the Spark Clinic, by Glenwood, by this psychologist. He has Medicaid. It needs to be full Medicaid. I would like to learn more about these resources, and you could forward them the flyer. So they will send you the link to the application. And if you are a parent that don't have a printer, make sure that you put on that email, please send me a hard copy postal mail, because we do not want to make it more difficult for the parents, right? When I make those referrals, if the parents tell me, Miss Maria, I need to go to the library, I need to ask the lady at the front desk to ask me to go in there because I'm not familiar with technology, I said, don't worry. I do not want to make it more difficult for you. So what I usually do, I write the email and I put on the email, this family will need accommodations, okay? I have 2 grandparents within my region that none of them had to read and write. So guess what? we need to make accommodations for them, right? And that's what we need to do as professionals, trying to meet the families where they are. And so this could be done. It's very simple. The application is also very, very simple. You need to provide the copy of the diagnosis and other information that are pertaining to the student, like the Medicaid card, and then somebody will be connected with you. One of the first things that they will do is assign an intensive care manager, okay, an intensive care coordinator. I'm sorry. It's called an ICC. This person becomes like the case manager for that individual in order to be like, what resources can we provide? What is what the family needs? So this, like, again, this is one of the resources that not many families know about it in Alabama, because it's something new. So also, if families have Medicaid, right, and they open up a case within CRS, Children Rehabilitation Services, there is a reimbursement for mileage. So if you're taking your child for speech, OT, the dentist, counseling, that's a lot of driving. And so there is this resource where the family will be able to receive, some money that will help to pay, for gasoline. So again, there's some resources that we have in Alabama that still parents are not aware of. And I'll be happy to send all this information. Is there another question, Jenny?
Yes, Sharonica says, thank you so much for the information. Can you please send the CRS and Opelika some brochures in English and Spanish?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Jared says, where do we get a copy of that flyer? And you're going to email that to me, correct?
I will email them to you.
Okay. So I'll email that. Once I get those flyers and that information from you, I will send out the post survey. So anybody who wants those flyers, please put your email address in the chat, and then I'll send it to you. Whether you want to take the post survey or not, you don't have to, but I'll definitely give you that information if you put your email address in the chat. All right. Are there any other questions or comments before we close for today? And Maria, thank you so much. You've given us a lot of information. And I think you're right. A lot of times parents just don't know what's available. And so they kind of get in that rut of trying to do everything on their own when they don't have to. So I appreciate you coming and telling us all this wonderful information today.
No, thank you. And I'm here to help you. I mean, don't feel that, oh, well, I'm not in her county, I'm not in her region, right? So if you want to be connected with me, that's fine. Then I will make the connection with my other colleagues, and that will be no problem. And like I said, if you are a professional, thank you for being here. Please share this information with the families that you are helping and serving so that families know what is available in Alabama.
Yes. And if you have any questions, for me or Maria, and you only know how to get a hold of one of us, just let us know and we'll figure out how to get you to the right person. But of course, you can reach me through Alabama Lifespan Respite if you need to have some of our resources, our respite reimbursement program. We also offer mental health resources. So if you just need somebody to chat with who knows your situation, knows where you're coming from, knows the world, please reach out to me and I will get you connected either to Kendra, our therapist, or schedule a care chat with me. All right, so looks like we've got all the questions answered in the chat. Thank you again, Maria. Thank you everyone who came today. A lot of really great information. And let's see, I think that might be it for today. Next week, I'll go ahead and let you know what we're doing next week. Our training is going to be on neurodivergence in the family system, and that's going to be on the 28th, which is a Thursday at 10 a.m. So if you haven't registered for that, there's still plenty of time to do so. And I guess that's it for now. I'm getting lots of hearts, so that's good.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this day, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend. And thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much. And everyone, take care of yourselves this weekend. Enjoy the cool weather and take some time for yourselves, okay? All right, we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.